Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new deep dive. Today we're getting into some software development, checking out a design pattern. It's called the prototype pattern. If you've ever, wondered how programs make copies of objects without a ton of work, like think about cloning a game character.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really important idea in object-oriented programming. Getting this right can make your code way more efficient, much cleaner.
So let's break this down. What exactly is the prototype pattern I've heard, like blueprint analogies?
Yeah, that's a really good way to think about it. So imagine you've got this blueprint, right? And you can just copy and paste it. You don't have to redraw every time. That's what's so cool about prototype. It's all about making new objects by essentially copying an existing one. That's our blueprint or prototype. And the key is we don't get stuck on needing a specific object type.
So if I need like an almost identical copy of something, I can just clone it instead of building it all over again from nothing. That saves so much time. You got it. It saves time for sure, but it also means less repetitive code. You only define that object creation process once in the prototype, and then bam, you reuse it whenever, maybe with a few tweaks.
Now, I'm a visual learner, and I know our notes mentioned a UML diagram.
Yeah,
Could we maybe look at that?
for
Watch
sure,
that.
for sure. Okay, so picture this. We've got a diagram, and at the top, it's prototype. That's our template. It's got this method called clone. That's our copy function, basically. Then there are these concrete prototypes. These are like specific versions of the template. Think we've got a document prototype, right? And then concrete prototypes could be text document, image document, and so on. Finally, there's the client, that's the part of the code, actually using this whole prototype pattern.
So the client's like, hey, prototype, make me a copy of this thing. And boom, new object, ready to be customized.
Exactly, you got it. And here's the best part. The client doesn't have to know how WD, that concrete prototype, works internally. It just knows to ask for a clone. It's
Yeah.
like a universal make a copy button, doesn't matter what kind of document we're talking about.
This is making a lot of sense now. But to really get it, I think seeing some actual code would help. We've got some C++ in our notes here, right? Can we go
Ah.
through that?
Yeah, definitely. This code shows prototype in action. Don't worry too much about all the little syntax things, though. It's more about how each part fits into the bigger picture.
Perfect. That's what I like to hear.
Okay, so we've got this base class. It's called document, and then document a prototype. That second one, that's our blueprint, our prototype. It's got a method, clone R.
That's just clone, but fancier, right? Since this is C++.
Exactly. Then there are these two other classes, Documento Texto and Documento Imagen. They inherit from Documento Prototype. These are like our specific document types, text and images. Each one, they implement that clone R method, but they make copies of their own type.
So it's like our text document and image document from before, but now it's code.
You got it. And the example, it shows you how to make instances of these prototypes. You use clone R to copy them. So you might have variables like copia texto, copia imagen. Those are our clones.
And just to prove those clones are their own thing, the code changes their content, right? Like the original prototypes, they stay the same.
Right, exactly. It's powerful stuff. Think about it. You're designing a game. You need like 20 different enemies, but they're mostly similar. Instead of writing completely new code for each, you use prototype. You clone a base enemy, then tweak a few things. So efficient.
That's a great example. I bet that kind of efficiency, that's just one perk though, right? What else makes prototypes so useful?
Oh yeah, for sure. Efficiency is huge, especially when objects get complex. Then there's less code duplication overall, which makes it easier to work with. And don't forget about flexibility. The client, it interacts with the prototype through an interface. So it doesn't actually need to know the concrete type of the object it's cloning.
Hold on, so I could add like a whole new concrete prototype later on. As long as it follows the same rules, my client code, it wouldn't even need to change.
Exactly. That's decoupling in action.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, and it seems really powerful, prototype. But like every tool, there's got to be a time when it's not the perfect fit, right? What should we watch out for? When might prototype not be the best choice?
You're thinking the right way, for sure. One thing, it can get kind of tricky with this idea of deep copying.
Deep copying is that like when you copy something, but it's not just the surface, you got to make sure everything inside gets copied too, not just like pointers back to the original.
Exactly. If your prototype, it's got other objects inside it, kind of nested, and you're not careful, you might think you're changing the copy, but you mess with the original too.
Whoa, okay, yeah, that'd be bad. So it's like, imagine copying blueprints, but you only got the outside walls. You start messing with the layout in one copy, suddenly you've changed the design for a bunch of houses, not just one.
Huh. That's a good way to put it. And making sure that deep copying works right, that can be a pain. Depends on the programming language, too.
All right, so deep copying, got to keep that in mind. Anything else? Are there times when prototype just isn't the right tool for the job, even if we're careful?
Yeah, good point. Prototype, it's awesome when you need variations, lots of them, and you got to do it fast. But think about a really simple app, right? Making new objects is easy. You barely ever duplicate anything. Using prototype there, it'd be overkill, like you brought a whole cloning lab when all you needed was a copy machine.
Right, right. So choose the right tool at the right time. Prototype's got its strengths. We got to know when it shines and when it might be too much.
Exactly.
Well, there we go. We've done our deep dive into the prototype pattern. We've talked about what it is, how it all works, even saw some C++ code to make it real.
And importantly, we've considered its limitations, too, right?
For sure. This has been a really great overview, I think. Definitely gives me a lot to think about for my own projects.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
And hey, if you're listening and you really want to learn this stuff, best way is to just try it out, you know?
Yeah, experiment. Get your hands dirty with some code.
Exactly. See how that deep copying works or doesn't work.
Yeah.
In your favorite language, you'll learn a lot that way.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, this has been our deep dive into the prototype design pattern. Thanks for joining us, and happy coding, everyone.